Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, okay, I know it's not evening yet, but we're going to try that one more time. Good afternoon. Excellent. On behalf of KPCC Southern California Public Radio, I'd like to welcome you to the Crawford Family Forum. This is the mainstay of our live events. My name's John Cohn. I'm the managing producer of our newly christened KPCC in-person platform, which is a really simple yet fancy way to say our events and engagement and everything we do for KPCC. By a quick show of hands, how many of you are members of KPCC? Thank you so very, very, very much. Thank you. You make everything that KPCC does possible. If you didn't raise your hand, something that you'll hear Larry say a lot is 866-888-5722. Click and join kpcc.org. Larry actually was in San Francisco not too long ago. We did a town hall with KQED as part of our California Counts coverage. This is another live installment of what KPCC is doing in person around Southern California as we ramp up to all of the elections happening this season and a lot of our political coverage that's happening courtesy of Mary Plummer, our political reporter, who's also in the room. So we encourage you to sort of participate. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Ashley Alvarado. I'm going to try that one more time. Ashley Alvarado, and she's going to share with you real quick how you can become more involved.
Thank you. As he said, my name is Ashley Alvarado, or something that sounds like that, and I'm the reason that there's a little piece of paper on your chairs. What we do is we work with community members as news sources. We ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like to do, where you live, maybe the kind of food you like to make, or if you're a parent, a teacher, what have you. And then when we're doing stories related to it, we might reach out to you with a set of questions via email. We've done a lot of these questions around the election, but we're also doing it around transportation, around parenting, all of the issues that matter to you. You might not think you're an expert, but I will be the judge of that. So if you can, write your name, your email address, and maybe some things you'd like to talk about. We'll pick them up afterward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. A quick bit of housekeeping. If you have a device, we do ask that you put it on silent, but encourage you to use it using the Twitter handles and hashtag up there. If you need Wi-Fi, the credentials are up there. And we encourage you to be vocally responsive and respectful. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to the host of the longest-running call-in public affairs program in Southern California. That would be AirTalk, and host Larry Mantle.
Thank you so much for coming this afternoon, particularly in the thick of traffic, to make your way here. And I'm sure we're going to have a spirited and strong debate. We're going to introduce you to the 6 candidates that we have for District 5 in a moment. But I just have a couple things that I want to mention first of all. One of which is, unlike some of our other forum events, we won't be taking any live questions from the audience because our time is so limited with the 6 candidates, and we have less than an hour's worth of airtime to just sort of introduce them to you. This is going to go really fast. We do have some questions from listeners that were submitted in advance. We put out the call and got some really good questions, and I was reading them and I thought, why didn't I think of that? So we're going to incorporate some of those listener questions into it. You can also tweet using the hashtag BOS5, not BS. BOS5 is the hashtag if you want to tweet to join the conversation on Twitter. This is going to air Monday at noon on AirTalk, so it'll be part of Memorial Day. Many more people can listen because of the holiday. We are also live webcasting it. The video will be up at kpcc.org/in-person, so you can visit anytime or send friends to it who couldn't be here this afternoon to see the debate and watch the candidates in action. KPCC senior political reporter Mary Plummer is in our audience. She's covering the debate, and if you're out around political things in Los Angeles, you might have met. Mary, you want to stand up? Are you there in the back? Oh, Mary's right over here. Okay, Mary Plummer. Look for her. She's everywhere, all things political here in Southern California. So if you have any questions about the election, any voter registration or polling place information, KPCC's Human Voter Guide, not a machine, but a human, can get you the answers. You can text or call with your questions to 323-538-5722. That's 323-538-5722. All right, I'm going to quickly introduce our candidates, and then we'll start with our broadcast. First of all, candidate number 1, these are in alphabetical order, Chief Deputy to Los Angeles County Supervisor Mike Antonovich, Catherine Barger. Candidate number 2 is Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney. He was also a candidate for Congress from Torrance in the South Bay, Ilan Carr. Next up is a gentleman who's been with us many times on AirTalk because he's Los Angeles City Council member. He represents the Northwest LA City District 12, Mitch Englander. Another man who's a frequent guest with us on AirTalk, California State Senator, Republican who's represented the area where LA, Orange, and San Bernardino counties come together, Bob Huff. Glendale City Council member, former mayor of Glendale. His term as mayor just ended last month, Ara Najarian. And a former White House Office of Management and Budget staffer, Darrell Park. Okay, we're going to get going here momentarily. Okay, let me get my timer set. One thing that's great, if you feel comfortable doing it, it gives a real sense of place. If when we open and close our segments, you would offer your applause, it tells listeners on the radio at home or in their cars that this is in front of a live audience, that it's a public event. So feel free to do that. I'll give you a little hand cue, only if you're comfortable. As public radio, we don't coerce, except during the member drive. From the Crawford Family Forum at KPCC, this is AirTalk in person. Today, a debate between the leading candidates to succeed Mike Antonovich as 5th District LA County Supervisor. Welcome, I'm Larry Mantle. Supervisor Antonovich is termed out. He's held this North LA County seat for 36 years. Now, none of the 6 on this stage are going to serve that long because of term limits, but being an LA County Supervisor is one of the most attractive elective offices in the country. Each supervisorial district has about 2 million residents. The board is responsible for public health care, county jails, mental health services, protecting neglected and abused children, and managing our largest parks. LA County is the largest employer in our 5-county region. More than 100,000 people get their paychecks from LA County. Now, the 5th District is really the district of the valleys. San Fernando, San Gabriel, Antelope, and Santa Clarita valleys are all part of the sprawling 5th. You got to be able to represent the unique needs of high desert communities just as you would Glendale or Sunland. We've invited the 6 strongest candidates. We base that on the ones that have attracted the most financial support, because none of these candidates running have strong name recognition throughout the district. And it takes expenditures to raise their profiles, raise their name recognition with voters outside of the areas where they are. It also makes it extremely difficult once you're elected to a supervisorial seat to lose it. Incumbency is powerful because of the size of these districts. So each candidate is going to take a half minute to introduce him or herself. We begin with Chief Deputy to outgoing Supervisor Antonovich, Catherine Barger. Welcome.
Thank you, Larry. Catherine Barger, lifelong resident of the 5th District, born and raised in the Pasadena area. I started really at the bottom as an intern working in Supervisor Antonovich's office, was hired as a deputy handling health and welfare, and 15 years ago was promoted to his chief of staff. I'm running because I tell people I don't need any on-the-job training and I can hit the ground running, and I'm really looking forward to the questions we're going to be asked today.
Thank you very much. LA County Deputy District Attorney, former congressional candidate Ilan Carr.
Larry, it's good to be with you and with your listeners. I'm Ilan Carr, and I'm running for supervisor because the most important job a government has is to keep us safe. Nothing is more important than that. I'm a criminal gang prosecutor and an Iraq war veteran, so when it comes to keeping us safe, I know what it takes. And what it takes is not only more police on the street and more jails, but it's also taking care of our kids with schools that work, and job training in our schools and after-school programs and more jobs so that every family has a chance to succeed. That's why I'm running, and I'm thrilled to be with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. LA City Councilman representing the Northwest San Fernando Valley, Mitch Englander.
Great, Larry, thank you so much. Thanks for putting this together. I'm running for supervisor because we have so many critical needs in the county. I've got a diversified background as a small business owner, as a police officer, as the president pro tem of the largest city in the county of Los Angeles. I have a unique background and experience in working with nonprofits, working with various communities to tackle those challenges, to improve the quality of life throughout our county and all of our communities. And this is a great opportunity to make a big difference where it's been 36 years that we haven't had an open seat.
State Senator Bob Huff, whose district straddles LA, Orange, and San Bernardino counties.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be back with Larry and KPCC. You know, I've been told I have a face for radio, so this is natural for me, I guess. But, you know, as we were coming out here and we see the lineup of these directors' chairs, one of my colleagues up here says, looks like the dating game. And that is sort of what this is, right? We're presenting our best side to you. You're going to choose one of us. When we get through all this stuff, I hope you'll choose me for 4 years, and hopefully we'll get along well enough. It's for 12, but certainly not a one-night stand.
Thank you. Glendale City Council member and former mayor of Glendale, Ara Najarian.
Thank you, Larry. Folks, I have just concluded my third term as the mayor of Glendale. I've been on the city council for 12 years. I believe in public safety, I believe in job creation, and I believe in fiscal responsibility. I've served on the Metro Board as chair. I still serve on the Metro Board, and every day I work hard to make this a better county for transportation. I know how to get the job done and be a good leader.
And former staffer for White House Office of Management and Budget, Darryl Park.
My name is Darryl Park. I'm different from everyone else on this stage. I am the endorsed candidate for the Democratic Party in LA County, representing 2.4 million Democrats. I like elections and election information to be simple. I like to find out who the candidates are and what party they're in. It's very difficult in this election to do that because the party is not on the ballot. I'm the Democrat, they're the Republicans. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Park, I'm going to start with you, and you teed this up for me because this is a nonpartisan office, but you're making partisanship a focal point of your campaign. I haven't seen the other candidates emphasize their party registration. At least one of your mailing links the other 5 candidates with a highly polarizing Donald Trump. Do you think these candidates hold similar views to Donald Trump, and you think that's a fair attack on them?
I am pointing out a simple fact. Today, Donald Trump got enough delegates to be the Republican Party's bearer for the presidency of the United States.
You also know he's a highly divisive figure within the Republican Party and that many Republicans don't support him.
This is a district that has almost 100,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. Obama won this district by 16 points. Feinstein won it by 20. But when you walk in that polling place, it was illegal for me to put my party designation on there. You talk to many people who voted for supervisor in the last 36 years. They would be shocked that they did not know that the person in that office was a Republican. I think it's very important to put that information out there. Everyone on this nice stage is amazing. They're all nice people. They have nice families.
All right, let me ask the 5 of you here. Are any of you already decided you will not support Donald Trump as the Republican nominee? Any hands in the air?
So not having any radio
Mitchell
silence,
Englander?
let me answer it this way. I think the reason that anybody might be supporting and where the party's gone, people are frustrated. They're frustrated with government in general. They're frustrated with local government, and this seat shouldn't be a partisan
Okay,
seat.
I understand. But my question is, are any of you on record opposed to Donald Trump being the nominee of your party?
I'm strongly
Ara
opposed.
Najarian.
This is Ara. I am strongly opposed to many and much of the platform of Donald Trump. And unless he changes that, I will not be voting for him.
All right. Next question for you. Councilman Najarian, you've served as Glendale mayor under a rotating system. You've only been elected by a single district in Glendale. So what gives you confidence that you can represent the high desert, Santa Clarita, all the other parts of this vast district?
Well, the single district of Glendale is the third largest city in the supervisorial district, over 200,000 people. But in addition to that, I am already representing most of the 5th District as their MTA board representative. Palmdale, Lancaster, Santa Clarita, Burbank, and many other cities. So I am well versed with those issues. And I was elected to that position by the 88 mayors of the independent cities of LA County. So I feel ready to go.
All right, Senator Huff, you've been in the legislature for more than a decade. You were a Diamond Bar council member, mayor prior to that. You've got a 30% voting score from the Sierra Club for the legislative positions you've taken. This is a district full of environmentalists, the Angeles National Forest. How would you represent those members of this district, residents of this district, who strongly believe in environmental protections?
Well, I've represented the Angeles National Forest for 4 years already, as you recall. The first 4 years I was in the Senate. And I do it with an open heart. I spend a lot of time out in the outdoors. I took my kids camping. I appreciate it. But it is not everything. I was vice chair of budget up in Sacramento, and every item on the budget has a constituency, and we have to balance all of that. But certainly part of that equation is making sure we have outdoor resources, we protect our environment, but we also don't do that at the expense of job creation. LA County, while we're making progress, we still have very high unemployment. We have the haves, the have-nots, and we have to work to generate more jobs. When we have more jobs, we have more taxes. We have more taxes, we can set aside the open space that we want, but we can't get it backwards. So, you're going to see me focusing on jobs, economy, public safety, and the environment is a high priority, but it's not my highest priority.
Councilman Englander, you're immersed in the complex politics of LA, but the county is a whole other thing in scale and the types of services delivered. Non-LA City residents don't always think that highly of the council of which you're a member. So what do you say to non-city residents skeptical that you, with the experience of an LA City council member, can represent this district?
Well, two things. One, I represent the area that's furthest from downtown. It's the area that tried to secede from the city of LA. And I understand what people and how they feel about either not getting services or their fair share of government. That's, in fact, one of the reasons I ran. I ran the Valley Secession campaign. So that was one part of it. I'm also on the independent cities and contract cities boards. I'm the only one from the city that works with all the cities in the county on that level on all issues, not just one issue. But more importantly, when I started on the city council, we were looking down the barrel of a $1 billion budget deficit. We've now all but eliminated that and put together performance-based initiatives where you can now go online and track services, track and look at metrics to figure out what's happening in your community, where's the money being spent, and what service deliveries are happening. That's not being done at the county level. So I have a deep connection to that, and I was raised in this district.
Mr. Carr, you're new to the district. You moved in after losing the South Bay congressional race to Ted Lieu. How can you as a newcomer represent the district as effectively as candidates who've lived here for many years?
Well, I'm on the payroll of LA County. I'm a criminal prosecutor for LA County, and when I fight for victims of crime, as I do every day, I don't ask where they're from. It's every victim who has a right to have justice done. And that's the kind of spirit I bring to this office. I'm going to fight for the 5th District, but really, I'm going to fight to deal with the problems that every family in LA County is confronting. Families are struggling. There is a lack of opportunity. Crime is way up throughout the county, 20% in many communities. That's unacceptable. We've got to keep our county safe, and that's why I'm in this race.
All right, Ms. Barger, you've seen the inner workings of county government from a senior staff position. You've seen the job up close, but you haven't held elected public office before. Certainly not a position as prominent as this. So what convinces you that you're ready to go from being a staffer to being an elected official representing 2 million people?
The years that I've worked for the county and worked with the supervisors as Mike Antonovic's right-hand staffer or chief of staff has prepared me for this. I believe you don't necessarily have to come from a political office in order to run. As a matter of fact, I think what's going on in this country is people are tired of politics as usual. They want someone who's actually going to do it, not because they're looking to run for another office, but in fact because they have a passion for what they're doing. And for me, this is my first run at office and my last. I have no intention of running for anything else.
Coming up, we're going to talk about homelessness in Los Angeles County and what each of the candidates thinks about the $100 million initiative the Board of Supervisors have passed. If they support it, where would they get the money to fund it? We're also going to talk about the proposed parcel tax to fund county parks. We'll also see what they think about potentially restructuring retiree benefits for LA County employees. Those and more questions coming up right here on this special KPCC AirTalk in person from our Crawford Family Forum. We're going to come right back after this live update. From the Crawford Family Forum at KPCC, this is AirTalk in person. A debate between the leading candidates to succeed Mike Antonovich's 5th District LA County Supervisor. Great to have you with us today. I'm Larry Mantle. If you're a resident of the 5th District, we hope to give you much more information about the 6 most prominent candidates to help you make your decision when you vote June 7th. Next topic we're going to take up is the county's homelessness initiative. $100 million worth of specialized funding, supportive services, and housing creation, and a plan that's designed to dovetail with LA City's plan to combat homelessness as well. I'm going to begin with Glendale City Council member Ara Najarian and ask you, first of all, do you support the $100 million initiative? And if you do, where would you come up with the funding to support it?
I do support the initiative, Larry. I think $100 million, however, is just the first step. The money currently is coming from the general fund. I think we need to keep it there and not work on any additional taxes such as a millionaire's tax. Let's see how the 47 different parts of that initiative work and if we actually are able to combat homelessness. I'm hopeful that we are. It's a broad and comprehensive plan. If all the cities of LA County work together, I think we can make a good dent in the homeless population.
And you think that the general fund of the county, that money will be fully allocated?
Yes, I do, along with help from each city. In Glendale, we contribute probably $3 to $5 million a year towards homelessness. Multiply that by the 88 different cities, each one doing a fair share, and that's how we're going to solve the problem.
State Senator Bob Hupp, same question for you.
Yeah, I think money's an important part. I support that. Whether we can afford it down the road depends. Right now, we see the state budget contracting a little bit from the January budget to the May revision. We've seen personal income tax falling, so as it's competing, we'll see. But I know we have to fund it. We have to find ways to lower the population. We have half our foster kids on the streets within 2 years. That's unacceptable, so we treat them earlier. Come alongside them so they're not out on the streets later on. We can save that. AB 109, Prop 47, while they're intended to do one thing, put more people out on the streets. So we need to treat the mental illness that is putting a lot of people there. We need to go after the drug offenders and make sure they're getting treatment because they're not incarcerated anymore and there's not much punishment if they're caught with drugs. So there's a complex menu of options we have to put together, but absolutely we have to put resources to it. But we have to solve the problem, what's driving the increase in homelessness.
All right. LA City Councilman Mitch Englander, do you support the $100 million plan?
I do, and in fact, it's only the beginning. The real trick on that, first of all, is finding a sustainable revenue stream. One of the 47 initiatives, and there's great ones, really needs a focus as well on rapid rehousing and housing. One of the difficulties is you can't just throw money at it, and the county's not going to be able to fix this alone. It's gotten out of control, and it's not just the numbers. You got to look at and put a human face on this. These are families, veterans. It's criminal that they're living on the street. We've got to do the humanitarian thing, but we also need to change the narrative, and it's not about permanent supportive housing. It's about sustainable housing and not just transitional housing. The question also becomes where to build it and making sure that everybody gets their fair share and we don't have to ship everybody off to one central location or downtown. We've got to create those services, particularly in the 5th District where there's so many areas that are remote that people don't have access to those services. We've got to make sure that mental health, job training, vocational training, drug and alcohol treatment are in all those communities, and so we don't have to ship people off just to downtown Skid Row.
Deputy District Attorney Elon Carr, your thoughts on the $100 million?
Well, I absolutely support it, and I tell you, Larry, I deal with this every day as a prosecutor, and we have reached a crisis in our county. 44,000 homeless people, and as a combat veteran, it is especially painful to see our veterans, some of whom are destitute. It's very painful. I will tell you that in many cases, we don't have facilities where to put these people. I've personally been involved in a new court system that we helped create, the Community Collaborative Court, that finds alternatives to incarceration for people who need mental health treatment or drug treatment, and we sometimes don't have facilities where to put them, and it's tragic. Yes, this is a good first step, but we've got to have more facilities. And then there's another homeless population as well. The homeless population of people who don't have mental health issues, they've lost their jobs, and they're living in cars or on their friends' couches. And there, we've got to bring our good jobs back to LA County. And we have to bring down the cost of housing that has become unaffordable to take care of so many struggling families. families in our county.
Chief Deputy to Supervisor Antonovich, you think that this money is going to be available, and do you think the priorities are correct in the plan?
Absolutely. This $100 million actually came from redevelopment money when the state dissolved the redevelopment. So I think it's appropriate use of the money. Number one. Number two, I am not of the opinion that we need to go after a tax at this point. Right now, we spend almost $1 billion on services for the homeless. And I'll give you an example. We have someone who's picked up in what is 5150 or danger to self or others. They're brought to the hospital. 72 hours later, they're back out on the street. We are now opening urgent care centers for law enforcement and for individuals to be able to go and take someone who's in a situation like that. And it's going to relieve the clogging in the hospitals, but it's also going to be a linkage for these individuals who go into treatment. So for me, I think there's a better way for us to look at how we spend our resources, and there's going to be cost savings in the long run if we collaborate. I was just up in the Antelope Valley, and we are working with the city. It's going to take all 88 cities working together to address this issue. The county cannot do this alone, nor should they. So you've got faith-based all up there, and they're doing it.
All right. Darryl Park, former White House Office of Management Budget staff member, your priorities, homelessness, and you support the $100 million.
It's a good start. The average homeless person in LA County is costing you as a taxpayer $40,000 for them to live on the street under horrible conditions. The city of Ottawa, Canada, the state of Utah, even New Orleans, Louisiana, with their homeless vets, they figured out how to solve this problem. And two of those three saved hundreds of millions of dollars. You get people into housing, not a penthouse, not a beach house, but a small apartment, cinder block apartment that has a clock on the wall. You can have volunteers come in, they can take their meds on a regular basis, they can get the services and the support they need. You're paying $20,000 for that. 20% of those folks within 60 days get back to a normal life. And the other 80%, they need more time. But you're spending half the money you used to spend, and you no longer have the problem.
All right. Let's move on to the next question, which has to do with public employee retiree benefits. Cities and counties throughout California are dealing with this issue of unfunded liabilities related to the pension in the future. Do you think that more needs to be done to change the terms under which future county hires retire? Let me begin with you, State Senator Bob Hoff.
Yes, well, I believe that we have been very generous with our pensions, and for good reason. We want particularly those that are in public safety to be well compensated. Other government employees have had similar reasons, but it's become unsustainable. The assumptions that were made back when we expanded those programs can't be sustained. So I think that we've made a good progress toward that. I'd worked with the governor to try to rein back that in his first couple of years up here. We have made some headway at the state level, and many of the other government levels have changed as well. It's tough to go after existing employees because they're breaking that contract that we had with them. I'm told by somebody that's expert in constitutional law that it's possible, but I don't think we want to go there unless we really have to. But we do have to make sure that the benefits that we give those that we're hiring we can sustain in the future.
Quickly, what should that be? What kind of a retirement benefit should future hires get?
Well, that's, I don't have a magic number. It's something that's fair, and it's not out of balance from what the private sector is getting.
All right, Mitch Englander.
So as the president pro tem on the council, I'd mentioned earlier that because of that, I'm in leadership and I'm on the Executive Employee Relations Board, where we actually negotiate the union contracts. In fact, I've negotiated all 38 in the city. And with that, saved billions of dollars in our actuarial studies, which upgraded our credit ratings. But we did that in concert and working with our public unions and partners as well. We were able to do that. We were able to get them to the table because those have to be ratified, and we're able to negotiate that and get that done effectively, which has really taken the city, and they stepped up. We had early retirement where we, during the tough times, laid off employees. We've started rehiring and part of those agreements, but at the end of the day—
quickly for the new county hires.
And that's the critical thing with the county, is actually having a transparent process, working together to make sure with labor partners that we can create a sustainable unfunded liability pension program, because right now it's out of control and you're really looking at billions of dollars. One of the differences with the county versus what the city does is the county doesn't count that on their books and their credit ratings.
All right, Elon Carr.
Yeah, it upsets me when I see people trying to deal with our financial mismanagement on the backs of our first responders who endanger themselves every day to keep us safe. We made promises to them, and we better keep those promises. And that means every single dollar of pension promised to a deputy sheriff or a firefighter has to be kept. Those promises have to be kept, and we have to have our house in order so that we can keep those promises. Now, with regard to new hires, look, we've got the Sheriff's Department is 1,500 deputies understaffed. We've got to be able to recruit better. And that means putting together a compensation package that is attractive for our deputies and our firefighters and our other public employees. I'm not limiting it to law enforcement and first responders only. It has to be attractive, and that means salary. But that also means retirement benefits. It also means health care benefits. So what that has to look like, well, it's got to be in a negotiation between the county and those organizations. But we've got to have an attractive package so that we can recruit effectively and hire the deputies we need to keep us safe. 1,500 understaffed is just not acceptable.
Catherine Barger.
The county has addressed this issue. In 2012, we actually changed the pension program for new hires. And as a result of that, the bond rating for LA County was brought up. We, in 1987, actually changed our retirement program. We're always ahead of the curve. And so you've got plans now that actually are mirroring a lot of what's going on in the private sector. We also encourage our employees to do 401s and 457s to begin savings, because pension is not going to be sustainable for all of them.
But they still have defined benefit plans.
They do, but you have to understand that the employees now under the plan, what's a new plan they have, are paying a percentage close to, I think, 7% into that plan. And the public doesn't know that. Our pension program is actually a model for many around the country. And I really think that what the county has done and what LaSera, our pension program, has done has been very responsible. And that is to address the fact that new hires, it's not sustainable to continue down that road, so we changed that. For health care, we changed that as well for new hires. And so the county has been one step ahead in terms of addressing this problem, long before it was even being discussed or in the paper.
All right. Next, Darrell Park, your take on this?
We need to do more. We have a very severe morale problem with the county workers. You have some of the best trained, best qualified folks that aren't being treated the way they need to be treated. We need to do pension reform to help them out. But more importantly, to make it sustainable, we have to have massive, sustainable economic growth. As an entrepreneur, I want to tell you about this amazing nuclear reactor that we have in space called the sun. We can put solar on every single roof. Instead of building a new nuclear power plant to replace the San Onofre nuclear power plant, we can allow the utilities to amortize those costs over 50 years. The cost of solar is now three times less than the cost of nuclear. We can put it on everybody's roof, create 100,000 new jobs, and make LA County the place for innovation related to green energy.
How do you, but it's cities that deal, or private companies, with the provision of electricity. So what roles the county play quickly?
We will make it happen. It has not happened because it hasn't been driven in the way that it's needed to be driven. The county buys a lot of electricity, for one. Two, we have a huge amount of say with all of the folks in this county.
Okay. All right. Ara Najarian?
Thank you, Larry. When I opened up my remarks, I said I was fiscally responsible. And let me tell you what that means. The city of Glendale has instituted the toughest and most restrictive pension and benefit plan than any other city in the state of California, and I challenge anyone to find one that's greater. We have gone through and made the employees not only pay their share of the benefits of their pension contribution, but also several percentage points of the employer's portion. We have reduced the spiking of pension, so you have to have 3-year average for your highest pension. We have a 2-tier system where new hires have to work longer before they can retire. There is no other city that has that sort of disciplined method in the pension plan. And this was all negotiated. It wasn't forced on any group. I will bring that same fiscal discipline to the county and save a lot of money on our pension and benefits.
All right, we have a couple more minutes before we break, so I want to do a lightning round with the next question. I want a yes or no answer from you with a quick one-sentence explanation of that. Do you support with the Civilian Oversight Commission for the LA County Sheriff's Department subpoena power so that records could be pulled independent of the department for review by the Inspector General and that body. Let me begin. Mitch Englander, yes or no? Do you support that subpoena power?
Yes, but not yet.
Okay. Elon Carr.
Absolutely not. And the one sentence explanation is a deputy who uses force has internal affairs, then has the DA's office investigating JCID, and then multiple levels of investigations. Enough is enough. You investigate them, you determine if it's a clean shoot or not, and you move on. To have yet another level
All right.
is just...
Catherine Barger.
No.
All right. And no explanation.
Well, I would, but I thought it was a yes, no.
No, yeah, but one sentence
No, I
explanation.
agree. I mean, what Elon said is absolutely correct. And we've got an elected sheriff's deputy who's running this county, Jim McDonald. And quite frankly, I think that this is opening up Pandora's box as it relates to law enforcement.
Darryl Park.
Yes, and that's just the start. We have a horribly abusive problem in our sheriff's department. We paid out $45 million in sheriff's abuse claims last year, and that's just the ones that made it through the court system. The average sheriff's deputy is amazing, and they do a great job, but we have a huge problem, and we need the citizens involved to solve that problem.
All right. R.N. Najarian.
Subpoena power, yes, but only upon proper oversight and review by a judicial officer with a showing of good cause.
Bob Huff.
Subpoena power, no. I do believe that they should be an advisory role. I think they are working closely with the sheriff now. He's doing a great job of change, but I don't believe they should have subpoena power.
As we continue from the Crawford Family Forum at KPCC, we're going to be taking questions from some of our AirTalk listeners. They've submitted questions in advance. There's some excellent ones. We're going to be picking that up and bringing that to you as well as we hear from the 6 leading candidates for the 5th District LA County Supervisors race. Let me reintroduce them. Catherine Barger, Elon Carr, Mitch Englander, also with us, R.N. Najarian, Bob Huff, and Darryl Park. We'll continue with our special in-person program on the 5th District LA County Supervisors race right after this update. Hey, Fiona, could you come up here, please? Thank you.
You paid attention in law school. That's very impressive.
All right. We're going to resume here. From the Crawford Family Forum at KPCC, this is AirTalk in person. I'm Larry Mantle. Great to have you with us as we brought together the 6 leading candidates for LA County's 5th District Supervisorial race. It's the district that's a wide swath of northern Los Angeles County. It takes in a part of the San Fernando Valley, the San Gabriel Valley, Santa Clarita, and the high desert of the Antelope Valley as well. We have 6 candidates joining us in conversation. We now go to some of our listener questions. This actually comes from 2 of them. Tom and Dorothy both ask whether you support construction of a tunnel to join the 710 and 210 freeways. One of the most, and I think, Elon Carr, I believe it's your turn to start. Go right ahead.
Sure. Look, I come from a city with a lot of tunnels. New York, I grew up in New York City. I wish 50 years ago, when this was built, I wish it had connected. But it wasn't. Now, 50 years later, so the proposal, obviously you can't bulldoze communities. So now the proposal is to tunnel for how many millions of dollars? Conservatively, 7.
I think we're in the billions.
It's probably, I'm sorry?
I think we're in the
I'm
billions.
sorry, I'm billion.
Yeah.
I meant billions. Conservatively, 7, and I've heard estimates 12 or 13 billion dollars. Our schools are crumbling. Our jobs are leaving. Crime is way up. We just don't have the money. And so I'm absolutely against this. I think we should be spending our money more wisely on things we desperately need and ameliorating traffic in other ways.
Yeah,
and
so
not
quickly, how
tunneling.
would you deal with that traffic back up in Alhambra where the stub on the northern part of the 710 ends?
So first of all, traffic is not only in Alhambra, it's all over the place, and we need to find ways to deal with it. One way to do it is to have major arteries go in one direction only,
Okay.
Timed lights, rapid tows. Houston, by the way, did an amazing job to make sure any breakdown is gotten, it's 5 minutes before
Okay,
a car
so
is
surface
cleared.
street fixes
Surface
largely.
street fixes, and also we have crumbling roads. Our infrastructure is crumbling.
Catherine
We've gotta
Barger?
fix our streets.
As someone who lives in the area, I tell people when I was growing up, you could tell when Santa Anita Racetrack opened because Huntington Drive filled up, and you could tell when it was over because the cars left. Now, it is jammed on the Huntington Drive because people are using that to get east-west. I believe that this is not going to be decided in the next 15 years, and I don't know why everyone is waiting for the tunnel. There are things that can be done now. South Pass commissioned a study that showed reverse traffic flow, synchronization of lights, and then there are other mitigating issues that can be taken into play, and it baffles me as to why there's no political will to push it now. And I mean, I want to add this. Oh, am I done?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
You got a few more. I'm sorry.
Never mind.
No, you got.
Well, what I was going to say is that, it's frustrating as someone who lives here, because you're right, Alhambra, the congestion is beyond what I think anyone really understands, and we're not talking on the freeways, we're talking on surface streets.
All right. Darrell Park.
It's a $15 billion death trap.
What do you really think?
I lived in a small condo for 10 years on the planned route of the road and then the tunnel. It does not make sense. Monetarily, I'll tell you, as a White House Office of Management and Budget employee for 10 years, this is a joke of a project. This is worse than a bridge to nowhere. This is the worst of the worst spending. And it's not even safe. There's too much pollution, and guaranteed an engine fire will happen. And when that does, everybody in that tunnel is going to die, including the first responders that come.
What's your alternative?
So what's causing that traffic is truck traffic from the ports. They don't want to spend the money to put that on rails because roads are free and rails cost them money. They just have to put it on the rails, and then everybody's happy.
Ara Najarian.
Larry, I have fought against this tunnel probably stronger than any other elected official, not just with words, but with actions. And I've stood up to the Metro Board and explained to them that a $15 billion tunnel is going to devastate the cities of Pasadena, South Pasadena, El Sereno, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, La Crescenta. It's a boondoggle. It's a death trap. It's a cancer causer. It's something that we should fight against with all our sinew as elected officials, and I've done that. But it wasn't without a cost. I've been derided on the Metro Board. I've been ridiculed on the Metro Board, and I've been targeted for removal from the Metro Board because of my position. But that did not stop me, because I will fight for what is right until the very end. And this tunnel is the wrong thing for this community, and someday everyone in the region will realize that.
Bob Huff.
I do believe we need to close the gap. It's the last gap freeway in the Freeway Master Plan. It would save 6.8 million commuter hours. It would take 57,000 cars off the surface streets and put them in the tunnel. It's not caused by truck traffic, folks. The trucks that are going out of this area are mostly in the 60 corridor or down south. These are local trucks up here. They're going to go somewhere. But the study includes a truck or no truck option, but that's spurious. The real issue is you're impacting people's lives and productivity. And the air quality, it's actually, you have cleaner air with the tunnel project, and it doesn't impact the poorest people around us. It's a shame that we've had communities fighting this on the backs of the poor people over the years. So I absolutely support this. It makes sense. By the way, supported 2-1 by the voters, both in the impacted areas and outside of that.
Mitch Englander.
I don't know that I would want to be in a tunnel with 57,000 cars. Haven't heard that number before at one time. So with that, though, this fight goes back. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys. It's generational. We have parents fighting it whose parents fought it. We have kids fighting it whose parents fought it. It's been going on for so long. We've got to just forget the tunnel. It's not going to happen in our lifetime. We have to look at viable alternatives that have been studied but not vetted. They're not just ADSAC systems, from automated traffic signalization and rapid bus, reversible lanes. There are so many things in low-hanging fruit that we can do at a fraction of the cost, and we've got to do that. The political will, by the way, has changed dramatically. Measure A passed in Pasadena 10 years ago. Now Pasadena's against it because they realize the funds can be better used to improve our infrastructure and look at all of those other multimodal parts of transportation that should be vetted, studied, and funded.
All right. Let me move on. Next question comes from Angel. What are your creative ideas to bring greater efficiency in the services that are provided to recipients of services in Los Angeles County? Ms. Barger?
Well, I talked about it briefly when we were talking about the homeless issue. We are looking at ways of opening urgent care centers for the mentally ill, and that will address law enforcement as well as Pacific clinics and other clinics that are using, that have individuals that are coming in for services. Better utilizing that. We've created a new agency system with Department of Health Services, Mental Health, and Public Health, which is going to better streamline services across the board and be more efficient. As it relates to DPSS, Public Social Services, we are looking at how to better streamline individuals coming in so that there's real-time services provided versus waiting and going through an application and coming back, and then combining that with job training so that we can get people job training and get them off of welfare and into the workforce.
All right. Mr. Park, your thoughts on that?
There's a teeny little company in Northern California that everyone knew was going to fail. They had some great ideas, but they were overwhelmed by other competitors. Their two founders said, hey, we're going to keep the lights on by having everybody work 80% of the time on the stuff that we tell them. But then the other 20% of the time, they work on whatever they think is the hottest, newest, best thing that's going to help drive the company in the future. That company was Google, and it succeeded because they had thousands upon thousands of new ideas that they otherwise wouldn't have had. We have amazing staff in the county. They see problems that you can't even imagine. It could take 1,000 consulting firms 1,000 years to figure it all out. Or you can actually ask the person who deals with it every day and say, hey, I'm going to give you 20% of your time to solve this. That is a way to do that. And once we do it, we will have the best run county government in the entire country. Thank you.
Mr. Najarian, how would you streamline and create more efficiencies in service delivery?
To create more efficiencies, first, Larry, I would request that we do a department-by-department audit. This is a huge county government, as you mentioned earlier, with over 100,000 employees. I think that every department needs to be scrutinized and determine if we have the correct number of employees working in each particular subdivision of that department. I am sure that we can find incredible cost savings by streamlining each department individually. Secondly, I think we need to make greater use of technology. Technology is the key, and just think how your efficiency at home has improved by the use of electronic devices and personal digital assistants. And we can do the same thing in the county government. A county-wide, let's call it a renaissance in technology to bring efficient resources to all the residents.
Mr. Huff.
A top-to-bottom approach through every department to look for efficiencies. Outside eyes looking in will find things that people who have been doing it forever don't. By the same token, the people that are doing it forever often have ideas of how to do things more efficiently, and they get a deaf ear to that. So I think you ought to have give an incentive to people that come up with ways to save the county money, and they get a percentage of that back. I think a real key way to help shape behavior is through the budget. And so we establish either zero-based budget or performance-based budget, but the point is you justify that budget every year. You don't get it just because that's what it was last year and inflation 2%, so you pop it up. But when you make them justify it, there may be a higher priority somewhere else, and then the money flows to what the highest priority is. But if you just have the dynamic model that we normally, or the non-dynamic model we normally do, we're not giving incentive, we're funding usually obsolescence or poor performance. And sometimes it may mean contracting out some things that are not being run well.
Mr. Englander.
This is one of the things I care most about because it's so frustrating to figure out exactly what services and how to get things done, or are things being done effectively and efficiently in the county. In looking at that, one of the models that I did in the cities, we actually created performance-based initiatives with metrics, where we have dashboards where you go online and drill down to figure out, Are they meeting their goals? Are they meeting their objectives department by department? Are the response times happening by department? Are they meeting? And then we do that in a very transparent manner and have a dialogue and a conversation on a regular basis. We bring the department heads in and we put it online. We go out to the neighborhood councils. We make sure that people have input in service delivery, because that's what, quite frankly, at the end of the day, that's what local government is about. Local government doesn't create anything. They don't manufacture anything. They don't export anything. One would argue there's no intellectual property. It's a joke in there somewhere. At the end of the day, what it's about is service delivery, whatever that might be, whether it's the sheriff's department, the fire department, mental health, health services, and we've got to measure that with metrics and have key goals and make them transparent.
Mr. Carr. Yeah, so I actually asked that very question of a consultant who works with the county, and they said, actually morale in many departments is quite low. I think it's very important, I work for the government. I went into government work because I wanted to keep people safe and help people. That's why I went into law enforcement. I think anybody who goes to work for the government at any level, and certainly for the county, wants to feel like they're making a difference in people's lives. And they're making the world a better place. They're making our communities a better place. It's critically important that we make our county employees feel invested in that outcome so that they see the results of their labor. They get compliments. One of the big complaints was, we only hear when we do something wrong and people come down on us. We don't hear, oh, great job, look at the results you've had. And so I just think it's again, you go to county work because you want to make the world better and you want to help our communities. It's very, very, nobody wants to feel like a bureaucrat and a number. It's very important our county employees see the results of their work and are invested in an outcome where people are happier and better off for their work. That's critical.
All right. Want to give each of you a chance, give a 30-second pitch for yourself or to comment on something earlier or an issue we weren't able to bring up in this hour conversation. Let me begin with Catherine Barger. Your 30-second closing statement, please.
Again, I want to thank you for this. I am a committed candidate to this office. This is something that I don't take, as I said in my opening, lightly. I'm running for supervisor because I want to make a difference. That's why I have the endorsement of over 5,000 sheriff's deputies, the firefighters of Los Angeles County, Governor George Deukmejian, former DA Gil Garcetti, and also Supervisor Mike Antonovich and Sheila Kuehl. I attack problems, not people. And I'd like to say that when you look at this office, it's nonpartisan because we do not fight the politics.
Elon Carr.
Larry and ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in 2 decades, crime is way up throughout our county and as high as 20% in many communities. That's unacceptable. I'm running for this office because we deserve to feel safe, and government's most important job is to keep us safe. That's not only about handcuffs and jail cells, it's about fixing our schools, taking care of our kids to keep them out of gangs in the first place, and bringing quality jobs back here so every family has a chance to succeed. That's why I'm endorsed by over 67,000 police officers and the former chief of police of all of LA County. I'm running to keep us safe. I'm Elon Carr. Thank you so much.
Mitch Englander.
Thank you, Larry, and thanks for hosting this. Yeah, I'm running for the seat because I've been through a lot of tragedies in my life at a young age. So I turned around and dedicated my life to public safety and public service. I'm a reserve LAPD officer where I put on a gun and a uniform and a badge for free, and I go out on the street and work. I'm the chair of public safety. I've started nonprofits, opened at-risk youth centers, homeless shelters, and expanded hospitals. I've owned my own small business, but I'm committed to helping people, and that's really what is the cornerstone of what this county is all about, helping those who can't help themselves and giving people a better quality of life.
All right. Thank you, Bob Huff.
I've served 9 years in nonpartisan office and city council, tackling problems without an R or D attached to my name. I went to Sacramento. We did have an R and D by our names. It was very political, but I worked across the aisle and I have a reputation for getting things done. I look forward to working in this district also. I have been elected to represent more people in this district than anybody up here on the stage. I don't take that for granted. I do it by listening to people, by solving problems, and I look forward to doing that here. You can find more about me on supervisorbobhuff.com.
R.N. Najarian.
Thank you, Larry. In my years as mayor and council member, I just try and get things done. I try and bring good government to the people, and that's what I'm going to bring to the county of Los Angeles. I'm not endorsed by any big labor unions or any other large group, but I am endorsed by the Los Angeles Times, the Sierra Club, and the League of Conservation Voters. I'm also endorsed by the former mayor of Pasadena, Bill Bogart, and his wife, Claire. I just am a no-nonsense person, and I'd like to bring that to county government and get the job done.
All right, thank you. And Darrell Park.
I'm Darrell Park. I'll point out again, I'm the Democrat, and the other 5 are Republicans. I learned in the White House complex that when you solve a problem, you actually save crazy money, and we balance the budget 4 times. We have those problems here. We can solve those problems here. There's also a lot of money up on this stage, people taking money from organizations that would surprise you. I ask you, please vote for me, Darrell Park. I am the grassroots candidate. ElectDarrellPark.com. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for being with us. Thank you for coming and joining us in our Crawford Family Forum for our KPCC AirTalk in-person event. And we look forward to seeing you next time we do another in-person event right here at 89.3 KPCC.